I feel very fortunate to have lived in Greenwich Village in the 70s, pre-AIDS. It was a wonderful time. It was a time where you could walk out of your apartment, meet somebody on the street, bring them home, finish with them, go back out and meet someone else. It was a time of free love, of the gay bars were prevalent, people were holding hands in the streets. It was just an incredibly wonderful time. And there was a no man's land on the other side of Hudson Street. On the other side of Hudson Street, which today is so built up with high rises, in the 70s there was almost nothing there. There were trucks there at night that would park that were empty, and they were meeting places for men to go. Now, I never liked the trucks for sex because I like to see what I'm doing. And they were dark and they were scary, and once in a while you would hear stories about someone getting pickpocketed or someone, doing some harm to someone, and so the trucks weren't really my thing. During this time in the 70s, you have to remember, or if you look it up, you can see photos, that the West Side Highway was elevated. And so people that were riding from the Holland Tunnel or Southern Manhattan to the north, they were bypassing Greenwich Village. They were above on this highway. And so that area of the river was really secretive. It was almost like it was our place because no one went down that far unless you were gay. As I said, there wasn't very much there. There were the West Side houses with some families, but mostly gay guys. There was Christopher Street, but there were no restaurants the other side of Hudson, or very few that I can remember. So you went down there to be gay, and when you were standing in those gay bars along the West Side Highway, it was very private because you knew that the families and everybody else riding in the cars were above you. They really, if they saw you, it was just for a glance, and they were on their way. But if you walked further down towards the river, then, of course, were the piers. And these were covered piers left over from bygone days of cruise ships or shipping or whatever, abandoned piers that, of course, were a prime place for sexual encounters. I went there a few times, and although it was scary, you went in, and some of the floors had just given way, so you could actually look down into and see the river. You could hear the lapping of the river against the pilings. There were many floors. They were like a maze, and on any given night, there were hundreds of gay men in these piers. Now, again, I do like to see what I'm doing. It certainly wasn't as dark as the truck, so I must admit, I did have some fun. But one night, I was with someone and they had me by the hand, and he was taking me somewhere in the pier, and his leg went through one of the pilings down through the floor. Now, he didn't fall into the water. We had heard stories that people had fallen through the floors into the river, maybe never heard from again, I don't know. But once that happened and his leg went through, and I remember seeing his leg down through the floor, I said, this is not for me. I said, okay, we're going back to my apartment. And it's funny, I never went back to the piers again. I had had enough. I had experienced it. It was incredible, but it wasn't for me. I was more pick somebody up in a bar, take them home to a nice bed, and that was more my style. From a historical standpoint, it was just this time when it was our place. The West Side, the piers, the trucks, even the bars. I mean, there were bars with every label to it. There was a bar called Keller's, where people would go if they wanted to meet someone of different race. Black guys went to meet white guys. White guys went to meet black guys. That's where I saw Robert Mapplethorpe. That's where I saw many people that had the same persuasion as I did, that they were attracted to someone of a different race. There were leather bars. There were Twinkie bars. Every bar had its own kind of following, and it was just from a historical perspective an incredible time of free love, open sex, and tolerance.